I got to make sure that I do this right and mute my sound.
Why? You're fine.
I got to make sure that I do this right and
There we are. We're live. So let me. I
there
want to.
we go. Now I had to mute. Remember last week I had my sound up on the other stream, on the stream that was lagging.
Yes, I do. Now give.
You,
I gotta find us on here.
you were singing just one of those things, and I was in just one of those dazes.
You were just in one of those ways. I gotta do the same thing. All right, I'm good with that.
Wow, so we're
Uh,
live even before 7 o'clock. How about this?
what's this? This is an old one. Wait a minute.
What do you mean it's an old one?
Do you see it, Eric? Do you see us?
Yes. Yes, I see you. You see me with my Jazz Fest hat.
Yeah, but I don't see the stream that we're running right now.
Oh, you know what? I have to share. I got to share that. Thanks for reminding me. Um, Hang on.
Everybody,
Uh,
hold on. I always go through a bit of a struggle here when I get started. I don't see the. Oh, I have to. I know what it is. I got to refresh the page. That's what it is. Okay. Hang on, everybody. We're so clumsy in the
pretty
beginning.
sure I just shared. Tommy Bridges says he sees you. Share that.
All
Thanks
right.
for reminding
All right. I'm ready to roll. I am ready to roll here. All is good. All is good.
me. All right, now I have it perfect, so I can see the live stream and also see the comments on Facebook. Well, 7 o'clock is here, Sunday night, June the 28th. It is our ninth. This is our ninth show,
Can you
Nance.
believe it? It's just been a dream.
I mean, gosh. Hey, Tommy, what's going on? Um, yeah, we started this thing way back early May, and here we are at the end of June, and you look lovely. You look
Oh,
happy.
thank you. I am very happy,
You
especially
old.
tonight. I cannot wait to see our buddy Frank.
Oh my gosh, yes. I am anxiously awaiting seeing him in a matter of minutes. We're not going to keep you guys waiting too long.
No, I'm sure there's so much that we'll be able to talk about. We don't want to really wait and put.
No. So it literally in about 2 or 3 minutes, we will bring our very special guest on. Like I said earlier today on Facebook, I honestly, I mean, we've known for about a month now uh, that Frank was going to be on this show, and so I was kind of counting the weeks down, and we've had some great shows certainly over the past couple of weeks with Rosanna, Vitro, and then who was the guy we had on last week? Wasn't I liked him a lot. Oh, my dad, that's right, Ray Cohen.
Oh, that was such a wonderful show.
Yes,
That
yes.
was wonderful.
But I'm telling you, I've had this one circled um, on my calendar, and it is our final show for a couple of weeks. Let's just get that out there quickly. You and I are going to take a 1 week hiatus.
Well, yeah, I got some family coming over for the weekend, and I think everybody's going to be pretty busy over the holiday weekend in one form or another. So
I would
it
say
makes
so.
sense to just take a break.
Yeah, and we'll be back with you 2 weeks from tonight on July the July the 12th. Weather, boy, this weather has been beautiful.
I
Pretty
got a
much.
lot done. I always say that every Sunday, but I got a lot done today. But
You
I
told
did
me.
not mow the
Yeah.
lawn.
I know. For those who don't know, I seem to think that Nancy is a kind of a she's addicted to mowing and to weed
No, it's not
whacking.
that. It's just that there's someone that lives nearby me who mows theirs all the time, and then I feel sloppy.
Well, your lawn has
It's
got
a
to be.
guilt. It's a guilt lawn mowing trip.
Oh my gosh. Joe Cortini joining us. Thank you, Joe. And by the way, Nancy gave me a little peek of what dinner is like in the Cortini.
Oh Lord, I can't speak to him. I'm going to unfriend him for that.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
God.
look at this. Your old pal Chucky Segroy just dropped in.
Hi, Chuck.
He said, "Hey, Nancy, Eric, and Mouth when he gets there."
Well, he's
Well,
going to get here.
you know
How
what?
soon you want to bring him on? You want to bring him on?
Well,
Let's just get to it.
Yeah, seriously. I
Let's
mean,
just get to it. You want to introduce?
no, because if I'm going to introduce Frank, knowing my introductions, it'll take up long. Frank
Well,
Frank knows I'm noted for
there
long
we go.
intros, so why
We
don't you
go.
why don't you handle it?
Oh, Frank said it.
And then, ladies and gentlemen, there he is, the invisible Mr. Frank.
He's such a showman.
Wake up! Oh, hey, there you go.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, I was going to wear my Black Lives Matter t-shirt and I didn't. There we go. Welcome, welcome, Frank. And you are appropriately
Yes.
attired for this sort of thing.
Is the mask necessary for this evening's performance?
Only if you feel threatened by Eric and I.
No, it is certainly not.
Hi, guys. Hi.
Hey,
How are you?
welcome. It is so good to have you.
It's really great to see you, Eric. I haven't seen you in a long time. You look great.
Thank you. I'm trying. I mean, I put on a few quarantine pounds and a little beard, but I mean, haven't we all? Well,
I didn't grow a beard.
Nancy didn't grow the beard. No, that's a good point. But I like the beard. You've always looked good when you've grown a beard, Frank. I must say.
I just don't like to shave, actually.
Is that what it comes? Okay.
But you look really good in a beard, though. You do look good. You look very healthy and good. We're very excited to have you here.
Well, I feel good. I feel really good. This hasn't, the whole COVID downtime thing hasn't really represented a huge shift for me. I've kind of been off the air for a while. So
yeah,
it hasn't really been a radical shift in my lifestyle. It's been kind of nice, actually. Just been catching up on a lot of movies, and series and music, listening to a ton of music. And Kath and I have been doing things around the yard, and we've been having a really good time with that, So we love each other a lot, and we have each other, and we now have 5 kittens. So.
Oh no, I'm not coming anywhere near you. I can't.
Are you allergic to cats?
No, I love kitties,
Oh,
and I would probably end up taking one. I can't.
You're one of the cats, Nan. What
Yeah.
can
he
I
is a
say?
kid. That's true.
You said be funny, Eric. That's it. Nothing serious tonight, or I'm leaving.
Well, the hat's serious, and I'm digging it.
Well, yeah,
He's got a Bernie hat. I decided to pull out one of my
I love
17 Jazz Fest hats.
I love it. You've
Thank
got
you.
them all. Unfortunately, I don't know where mine are. I keep giving things away, I
Oh
love
my
it.
God. Oh my gosh, yeah, I'm telling you, the memories of being in the trailer with you and Kath and you'd always be so kind to give me a Jazz Fest shirt, and I'll tell you, backstage at Jazz Fest was always a trip because and I know Nance, you were backstage.
It's funny you say this because I was just thinking of that before we went on the air, of how much time we spent backstage, all 3 of us, talking and chatting and meeting people and eating and just it
It's
was
also
great.
a work. What I think a lot of people think there's a big party going on back there, but it's really a work environment. And,
Oh my God, it is.
On show day or show weekend, I'm really obviously worried about a lot of things. So I'm not always the best person to be around on show day, but it's a lot of responsibility. It's a lot of pressure. I'm just a regular guy trying to do something big, and I feel that sometimes. I really do, especially when. The 2017 festival, there was a bombing at the Ariana Grande concert.
I remember that you
remember
talking
that?
about that.
Yeah, in London,
In
right.
Birmingham, in the UK, at the arena. Yeah, well, that was 17 days before Jazz Fest, so I was really concerned. And then a couple months later, they had the massacre in Las Vegas on October the 1st.
Mm.
Yeah, when 600 people were shot and a whole bunch of people lost their lives. So you never know with a mass gathering what's going to happen, and now we can't have any mass gatherings. So it's probably a good thing until we work out the security issues,
Yeah.
You're someone who works really well under pressure, though. I feel like you're fueled by that kind of stress. You really do well. I've never seen anyone handle as much responsibility at one time as you, ever.
Well, there are five groups you really need to concentrate on during a festival. How do I do this? Do I look at your little pictures up here, or I'm not used to doing this? So
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Or
Okay.
I'm just looking at you as though I was talking to you. That's what.
Okay, cool. So there are 5 groups you need to take care of. The artists, because they're the creators and they make the music, and it's a music festival, so that comes first. Everything else takes care of itself if the artists are happy. Okay. You have to take care of the sponsors because they're picking up the tab for the clam bake.
You
They're
dig?
they're paying for it, right? So you want to keep them happy. You want to give the media something to
A
work
hat?
with, right? You got to give the media something to work with. So you really work, you know, if you have a relationship with the artist, it's great because then the media can interact or interface with the artists and everybody's happy and the fans are happy and whatever. Um, you really need to take care of the production details. You know, I've got other people that take care of that from an operational standpoint. So that's really, really important. You want the show to go well. Okay. You're representing your community, you're representing the festival, you're representing all your sponsors, you're representing all your media partners, you're representing it, in my case, my hometown. And I want to put on a great show. I want people to know that this is a great place for music and a great community to live in. And it's got a lot of great artists like you, Nan.
Oh, thank you. I don't think I've been to a festival quite as filled with love. We were talking about that the other day, what it's like to be there and how much we miss it just the family feel of it. Whether you were behind stage or out in front, it was just so much love. And we really miss it, Frank.
Well, you know, I that's really beautiful to hear. I tell you, you know, maybe people out there don't know about our relationship. You and I go back 40 years,
Long
and
time.
Eric and I go back over 30 years, at
Yep.
least 30 years. I don't know how long you've been in town, Eric, but I think I knew you when you
About
were
about
in the
30. Yeah.
womb, right? But
Yeah.
you've both been such an instrumental part of Jazz Fest. I mean, Eric, you've been its spokesperson through jazz radio and public radio forever. Nancy, you've probably appeared at the festival as many times or more than any other artist, and with good reason.
With my pleasure.
And you know, but I mean, I couldn't do this without you, and I couldn't do it without the fans. Oh, I meant to add them to the group of people you want to keep happy. You really want to keep the fans happy. You want to give them a great time. You want them to feel good about where they live and work and play and about their hometown and their community. And so you want to give the fans a good experience, along with the media and the sponsors and the artists. Like I said, everything begins with the artists. It all starts with the music. And if we ever forget that, then we're in the wrong place because that's what it's about.
What people don't realize is that I actually started Jazz Fest when I was still in junior high school here. I was actually 14 years old. I hadn't even come to Syracuse yet. Frank said, "Hey man, I hear you're a big jazz cat. Can you come up? You look like you're about 130 pounds soaking wet. I would love to have you MC the."
Do you have
No,
that
seriously.
picture? Where's that picture?
Frank posted this picture
You have it?
about a month and a half ago, and I saw this. I said, "How
Oh,
the heck was I even in college yet?" So it's the
wait.
I don't think you are. I think we snatched you. I think this was a kidnapping.
Oh my gosh.
I'm
It's
convinced.
that
Yeah.
fabulous.
You look very young there, Eric. Yeah. Man,
Oh
that's
my
great.
God.
That was
Very
great.
young and a lot fewer pounds,
Oh, we know, it comes with the territory, dear.
but that was about that I'm guessing that I don't know the exact year. That might have been the very first festival that I was a part of, and it just started just a wonderful relationship that we had, and like you and I discussed when we spoke on the phone a few days ago, Frank, that as much as I miss the festival family
Oh,
too.
yeah, really, really.
The vendors I got to know, the people that work the parking, the Mark Gummers of the world, of course our dear friend, may he rest in peace, the great Oscar Peterson. Of course Kathy and I had some great chats backstage. So
And Frank
um,
always let me go in his trailer.
and of course the
Come on
fans.
in, Nance, and give me a glass of wine. And
Oh
oh,
yeah, there was always some good alcohol in the.
well, we didn't. I have to say that we don't perform while doing too much of that.
No.
But it is nice to have a glass.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
But
that's the thing. It's about the vibe. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
regardless of what's going on backstage and irregardless of what kind of stress I'm under at any given moment, when I'm on stage, I try not to project that. You know, because I want everybody to feel that love, and I want this to be a great experience. And you know, we talked a little bit earlier about the T-shirt I'm wearing. You know,
You
Black
got
Lives.
baby, Maybe
Well,
stand up and show people a little bit because they weren't all with us when
Yeah,
you
please.
came on. Power to the people. Yeah, man. Yes.
Yes.
well, I think that may be the greatest understatement of the century, Black Lives
Yeah,
Matter,
right.
especially with regard to this music, and it has been such an honor to get to know some of the giants of this music. I'm a fan like everybody else, and so um, to have a lot of these artists as personal friends, it means so much when they come to Syracuse. Not everybody is dying to come to Syracuse to play.
Right.
And when we can get somebody like a Ray Charles or an Aretha Franklin or a Dizzy Gillespie or a Sonny Rollins to come into Syracuse, it's a pretty big deal. And it's always an honor and it's great to see them. But I think I think I always wanted that to be a part of whatever we were doing. I think Syracuse has been a pretty segregated city. I think from the standpoint of the music scene as well as just the community at large. And I think it's really important to bring people together. And I love the fact that Jazz Fest has been one of the things that has
And
brought
it
people
did. It
together.
did. Yeah.
It really did, and I think that's without incident, without arrest, without an
Yes.
argument, without any well, I know that's obvious. The music has a great healing power, but we all love the music. We all respected the festival, and everybody respected the festival and respected the artists who were on stage. And more importantly, a lot of people in the community of color got to see people on the stage that look like them. And that was really important, and it will always be important, and it'll always be a part of anything I'm involved with. We've
Absolutely.
got a serious problem in this community and a serious problem in this country. And if we don't start to talk about race and do something about it, it's only going to get worse. So I look forward to the day when Jazz Fest, I'm not going to say that Jazz Fest solves all the problems, but we all miss it, Nan. And a lot of people tell me they miss it every day and we need it. And I think it's really hard to connect the dots for some people who don't understand what this is all about spiritually,
I hear you.
culturally,
I hear you.
racially. Yeah. It's what did John Sebastian say when he was with a loving spoonful? It's like trying to tell a stranger about rock and roll. You either hear it and you get it and you know it and you feel it and you live it,
Yep.
or you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing breaks down all kind of impossible barriers like music. Nothing.
Yeah.
You know.
No,
And Jazz Fest did it in a big way for 35 years. So I'm hoping that the light bulb moment happens for a lot of people who are controlling the purse strings, so that they understand why it's vital and why it's important. Think about this whole COVID thing for the last 3 months. Could you imagine what your life would be like without music or film or art?
Oh my gosh, I've been just stepping deep in it. I've been enjoying every minute at home. I hate to admit it, but
yeah.
it's true.
I
Yeah.
mean, you could only garden so much.
That's true. Yeah. Now, music. I've always said music has healed me on many occasions when I've been. I think I speak for all of us when we're down in the dumps. There's just something about music, and in these times now, unfortunately, not live music, but just being able to put on an artist that means a lot to you and a song that just uplifts your spirits. And we all need some. Lord knows we need some uplifting right now, and music. Thank goodness we have music. We will always have music, but there's nothing like that connection between the the audience and the artists on stage. And Nancy, you've felt that. I've only felt it as an MC, but you felt it as a performer. And I know that we're all counting the days down when you can be able to connect with an audience again, because your music is anybody's music is capable of just cheering somebody up and turning a bad day into a good day.
I was talking, I don't know, I don't remember to who the other day, talking about how when you're a performer, and I have to speak for Frank as well, because what he does is in the category of being a performer, and what he pulls together, it really is. He's a stage person, just like I am. And just like you are, Eric, you love it up there too. But I said the one thing that's really missing in my life right now is my people. Where are my people? I'm gonna say I really miss the feeling, the love. The feedback. It's part of who we are. I've been doing this 50 years. It's part of it's a part of my personality. I feel like there's a little thing missing, but we've been doing things. I've been doing those collaborations and putting them up, and then that feels like I'm doing a gig, and that feels good. You'll see after this show, Frank. You'll feel like you did a gig. You'll be all tingly inside and happy.
Well, yeah, I listen. I watch you guys every week, and I love it, and I love what you're doing, and I love the fact that you're bringing the jazz community together. I mean, I hope people are watching. I don't know how to monitor that sort of thing, and if they're not, I wish we could send up a flare and get them to watch because
Oh, they're watching, and they will watch afterwards. We'll say hello to Nancy Donnelly, jazz singer. We'll say hello to Rosalind Blue, Liz Johnson. She's a great singer.
Yeah.
Chuck Segroy's on here. Susan from Cuvo in Denver is on. I'm trying to go through the list here of people.
We had Chucky Segroy earlier talk about the old Eastwood guys.
yeah, I grew up with Chuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in a band called the Capitals, and
Okay.
I've still got their business card, as a matter of fact. Yeah, it was Frankie Segroy and Chucky Segroy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they were Tony Licamelli, Johnny Latosha. Nance played with all those guys. Some of them were part of the Little Big Band. Remember that, Nan? Way back when.
How can I forget that? I should have worn that T-shirt. I've got it upstairs.
Oh, they swing like crazy, man. They're great guys, and they were all mechanics too. So they had a little garage. We lived a block apart from each other, and we were in a Boy Scout troop together. Chucky and I go way back. I mean, he's still one of the best walking bass players I've ever heard. And Frankie has been out in Vegas for years, and there isn't enough you can say about Tony Licamelli and Johnny Latosha. They're great players. So then they became the Seven and the Magnificent Seven. And then, of course, they played with Jimmy Cavallo.
Jimmy Cavallo, yeah.
The great Jimmy Cavallo. We lost Jimmy recently, and huge loss, just a huge loss. We lost Freddie Cole last night, man. I think,
Oh, man.
we all ought to talk about that.
We're all really in shock. We really are.
Froderick, my main man, Lionel, he was, I loved him so much. He was a great guy. I hung out with him in Montreal, Atlanta. Yeah, he was mellow. He was chill.
Gentlemen. Oh.
But he would take me, we would go places in New York on the east side. We'd go way uptown to an Italian restaurant, and they had a piano bar in there, and Freddie'd come in and it had a swing mic, and he'd sit down and do a number. And I mean, they treated him like royalty when he walked in the joint. We went to some Brazilian steakhouse over by Birdland, and it was a mile of meat. It was ridiculous. And all the Brazilian people knew him from Brazil because Freddie worked in Brazil a lot.
Yeah.
So I got to know him, I spent time at his home in Atlanta. We played golf together. He was a hell of an athlete. People don't realize that. He had a lot of scholarships, but he had an accident, and he had a bad injury. And so he couldn't have a professional sporting career. So he turned to music, and thank God he did.
Oh my gosh. One of the great memories I have, besides playing Freddie's music, was being at one of the Jazz Fest, the pre-Jazz Fest gatherings downtown. And Freddie was the entertainment that night. And it was just, I mean, all the sponsors were there. And to be in a room and to hear Freddie Cole and his trio just treat us to just those lush tones, it was just a magical night.
Excuse me.
Yeah,
people,
we always had what? I'm sorry, Nan.
I was just saying, people often ask me who I listen to. And Freddie Cole's one of the people I listen to. I don't listen to many, but I have to say he's one of them. And he was a jazz singer. To me, in my opinion, he was a jazz singer.
Yes.
He's a great jazz singer.
I mean, a whole different singer from his brother. Completely different in my
opinion. Well, Nat was obviously had a lot of pop success, but Nat was still, when Nat started out, Nat was just a great jazz piano player.
Oh, man, you're not kidding.
Yeah, the trio, and he was wailing. I mean, he's a great player.
Didn't they ask him to sing to try and up his career, boost his career, sell more records or something? What's the story on that? Do you know that story?
Well, I don't, I never met Nat. I saw Nat at Three Rivers Inn, but I never met Nat. And, but I asked Natalie about him, and there's a lot of painful memories there, you
Hmm.
know. The first time I met Natalie was with Freddie. We were backstage at Carnegie Hall.
Woo!
Yeah, it was a tribute to Nat Cole, and Maria was there, his widow, and it was quite a night, man. It was great.
You know, Natalie did really well for growing up in that musical family and having such a great career. It's often very difficult to have a career when you've got parents that are doing it and people that are all around you with it.
Oh, absolutely. That's impossible. I think that's like being a movie star's kid, I mean, how do you follow that, right? But Natalie was great in her own right. I mean, Natalie
She
was a
was.
great singer, great jazz singer, great R&B singer. I mean, I love the set she did for us at Jazz Fest. Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, that
I
was
missed
just
that. I don't know how did I miss that. Maybe I was not living here at the time or something.
You
it
missed the
was
Natalie set? Really?
Yeah.
well, she was great. She came out and did all of her hits and all of the R&B stuff, and then she did a whole jazz set, and it was just magnificent. I mean, she had a full orchestra, and she was really great, really great. She had been at Wolf Trap the night before, and it was the third night in a row, and she just had a kidney transplant. So, I mean, you want to talk about a trooper? She was just incredible, just incredible.
How long
Yeah.
did she do the show? How long was her show?
Oh, it was at least a 2 hour set. It was amazing.
Oh, boy, talk about a trooper, huh?
Yeah, she was wonderful. She's
Speaking of
wonderful.
speaking of great vocalists to play the festival, Nancy Kelly played the very first Jazz Fest. Now I was not I was in diapers then. Uh, it's not true. But I just wanted to ask the
Maybe
two.
you'll be in them soon again, too.
I
It
just
was
wanted to ask.
95. It was 95 in the shade, Eric. Is there
Oh,
more to your question? I don't want to step on your question here. Is there more to the question?
Well, I just wanted to get your thoughts on that very first fest. Where was it again, and what your memories are of the genesis of Jazz Fest.
Well, that's really interesting. Walt Shepard, a
okay.
journalist, well-known journalist from this area and well-known activist, and he and I were friends, and he had a friend named John Quattrone, and
Yes.
they did something at Syracuse Stage in that big aquarium they have there in the front of Syracuse Stage, and out in the lobby, and it didn't really come off all that well, I guess. And they called me in and said, "Listen, would you, we know you have a relationship with the media. We know you love the music. Would you sit in on a meeting?" So I sat in on a meeting, and we called a meeting of all the musicians and asked them what they wanted. And they said, "We'd like good publicity and a good room, good sound." And I said, "Is that all?" And that's kind of how I got into it. And the first thing we did together, Nan was part of that. It was indoors at
Oliver's.
Oliver's,
Mm.
right, nightclub, which was on the corner of Bridge Street and Erie Boulevard. And before that, what was it before that? The Scene, Nance, something like
Country
that?
Club? Cut.
Well, no. Country Club was after, and Suburban Park
Oh,
was after.
I don't know. Because, as you know, I'm really not from Syracuse. So, yeah.
I think they had a drummer in the loft and a live drummer playing along with music. And I think they called it The Scene.
I think you're right.
And Gene Danino took it over and he transformed it into an elegant nightclub. And then when it went to Suburban Park, it had kind of an amusement park carousel theme to it. But we did a number of indoor events there. Nan was part of that one, along with Ronnie Lee and Dave Hanlon and Bobby Hamilton,
Mm.
Frank Moser,
Ah, Mo.
right?
I
And
had
then,
some of the guys we were talking about with me on that date. You know who was on sax? I'll never forget it, though. Jimmy Cavallo was with me up there.
oh yeah,
You remember that?
I have a photo of it.
Oh, man. Oh, I'd love to see that.
No, I'll definitely get that to you. Yeah, I just uncovered a bunch of photos and I've been posting them on
Yeah,
Facebook.
I've been enjoying that.
I've been having fun with that, you
Yeah.
know.
We just got
No,
Ronnie Lee commenting. Hello all, suburban
Urban Park.
with an exclamation point.
Well, Ronnie and Larry, they had one of the top
Oh,
dance bands in town, which is turning 40 next
yes.
year. Atlas Linen Company. Now Atlas is turning 40. And it was an amazing band. And I went to them and I said, listen, could you play this thing? I want to do a jazz festival in Syracuse. And they were gracious enough. And when I told them what we could afford to pay, I thought they were going to throw me out of the room. But they were in for the cause, and they've been in for the cause the entire time.
That's a 10-piece band, though, right? It's a lot of guys, right?
It was a lot of guys, and
Yeah.
and they were great, and they brought everything to it. Anyway, we had these huge turnouts, Eric. They'd be on a Sunday afternoon, and we'd have 5 or 6 or 7 bands, and
Wall-to-wall people.
1,500 people would show
Wall-to-wall
up.
people.
Oh my
The
gosh.
fire department would come and try to shut us down. It was great. And that led to Song Mountain. That led to the first outdoor jazz festival, which Nan was also a part of. Nan was at the 25th anniversary festival in 2007 with Aretha. Nan has been a part of this festival for 4 decades. And how do I say thank you, Nan? I mean, not only are you a great singer, you're a great entertainer, and people love you. And it's just so great that you've been able to do it, that you've been available and willing, thank you.
Well, I live in central New York. I'm from Rochester, but I mean, this is to get a chance to be with that crowd and those people and my family. To be there is it's just such a great experience. I wouldn't miss it for the world, but now we are missing it. So.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but let's not talk about that like it's fatal. I mean, you know that I submitted a plan, right? You heard about my proposal?
I kind of liked it myself.
Yeah.
I thought it was not a bad idea at all.
You
Yeah,
told me
for
about.
those out there who might not know about it, I mean, I'll just hit on the essence of it. Although a light bulb moment went off for me. Governor Cuomo was at the Ag in Albany, and he was announcing that he wanted to expand the New York State Fair by 5 days and expand the State Fair's budget by $5 million. And I thought, well, here's a rare opportunity. And I think it took about a week before it set in, and I immediately reached out to the State Department of Agriculture and the State Fair officials locally, and to have a conversation about what might be possible and to gauge their interest. But what I was proposing is that we do a New York-centric thing, and we do a jazz thing that featured jazz artists from New York State all across New York State, because this is a really rich state when it comes to jazz, and it bills itself as the jazz capital of the world.
Well, it is.
And it is. Yes.
It is.
Well, it is. It is. I mean, not everybody comes from New York, but everybody winds up in New York if they want to make it.
Some point or other, we both lived there.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so what I proposed is that we take a small portion of that money, 5 or 6% of that 5 million, and that we allocate that for talent at a 2-day jazz fest during Jazz Fest or during the State Fair. And so, of course, now there isn't going to be a State Fair probably. And
Do you think there's a possibility for next year at all, Frank?
I hope so. I
Yeah.
mean, I hope so.
I just think it's a good idea. I mean, I don't know. The seating is all there. The sound is all in place. The dressing rooms are all in place.
Absolutely.
I mean, hello, you're going to bring in another 1,500, 2,000 people a day, or whatever it is.
It's just a great fit to the puzzle.
I mean, I've looked out on that crowd and seen 30,000 people from that stage.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know.
I mean, that's a lot of dough. Are these guys thinking?
Well, they need to connect the dots, and we need to talk about it, and we need to get people talking about it. And as I said, we have a tremendous track record for bringing people together, and I would think that's something that the state's going to want to do when we finally get a handle on the virus,
Right.
and we finally develop a vaccine, and when it's safe to go out again. And I think right now the governor is acting very wisely, and he's counseling people. I know it's frustrating for a lot of people because they want to get out there, and I know that people have not been able to make a living, and that's unfortunate. I mean, that's horrible. I happen to do some research that during the last depression, the Great Depression, the WPA, the Works Project Administration, right? The FDR program that created the Civilian Conservation Corps, also created tens of thousands of grants for artists because they understood how important art and music were to our culture, and how that they understood how entertainment was going to get us through the Depression. So we're on the verge of an economic depression with over 45 million people. I don't
Yes,
know,
we are.
200 million people infected worldwide, and I think the death count is over 125,000 in the States now.
Yeah.
So
Over 400,000 worldwide, or no, maybe more than that. I'm not good with these figures. I
About
should.
500,000 worldwide. Yeah.
yeah, but it's a serious problem, and obviously we all have to lay out a few measures right now, and it's a big rest that we didn't want. What do you call a big rest, Nance? A brev? It's a brev. It's like we didn't see this coming. We didn't ask for it, but it's here. We got to deal with it. And I think we are, for the most part. I think we're being responsible. I think there are certain states that aren't being responsible, and I hope those folks stay in their own states. But I hope.
Well, unfortunately, I understand. I understand we need to get the economy rolling, but unfortunately people took that as a clue to just resume life.
Resume normal life. And yeah.
Reopening too quickly is not the way to balance things out. And you know what? It's not easy to do. So it's easy to be critical of the job that someone else is doing, but when it comes to that, everybody's focus always seems to be elsewhere. And I try to remind people to focus on your own backyard.
Yeah.
Don't worry about what's happening in Washington. Don't worry about what's happening in Albany. You can't control that, but you can control what happens in your own backyard. So that's really where we need to focus our energies.
Hey, Frank, maybe your next slot in life is politics.
Oh, my God.
Well, Nance, it's funny you bring that up because in the chat room earlier, we had a comment. It said Malfitano 2020. And,
Oh.
And all I'll say is that the comment came from a woman whose initials are KR.
Oh, no, I wonder who that is.
I have a good idea who that is, but I think it's a little too late for Frank to enter the race in 2020, but maybe in 24, who knows?
Listen, it's not a job I want. I think politics has been, oh, here we go. No.
Well,
let's go there.
Let's tread lightly.
Let's
just tread lightly.
Look, I'm going to tread lightly. I love this country. I love America. I'd like to think of myself as a patriot.
Yes, me
I
too.
present American heritage music because it's our gift to the world.
Thank you. Amen.
It's the greatest thing that's ever come out of this country, as far as I'm concerned. I've been following the music since fourth grade, I was 9. That's 66 years I've been involved with the music in some way, shape, or form. I was a student musician for a lot of years, and right up to college. And I love this music and I love this country. The problem we have with our system, the way it's structured, we elect representatives, right? We vote, and a small percentage of us who actually vote, and whoever gets the majority of that small percentage gets to run the show, and they get to control all the decision making, all of the resources. They have all the power, all the jobs, right? So you better hope they like the arts, because if they don't, you're out of luck.
Yeah.
And as they say all the time, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. And I am, of course, being an artist, I can't say enough about how important the arts are to the culture of the country, to the society. I mean,
essential. It's the air we breathe.
When we put this on the back burner, we put, we just literally put life on the back burner because we start going backwards.
Yeah.
This is humanity at its best. Music is humanity at its best. Somebody once said that we're all divine beings having a human existence.
Well, that's true. Yeah, you read
Yeah.
some of my little spiritual things that I write. I have a theory, and this is interesting, and you'll love this. This is crazy. I'm going to go there. Going to go there. Did you know that a black hole emanates a B flat 50 octaves below the lowest B flat on a piano?
That's fantastic. Yeah.
Wow.
Wonderful.
So when you tune up, Eric, you know what note you hit? Concert B flat.
Yeah, man. So wait. So everything around us is vibrating. Everything vibrates. Music is all vibration. This is when you hear musicians talk about being in the zone. What we're talking about is being one with the creative source, the universe, the unfolding universe. This is where time stops. This is where there is no pain. This is where there's healing. This is where there's love. I mean, and when it just doesn't happen to the musicians, it happens to the audience. It is essential. It is a deep form of meditation that is
Preach,
just
Nancy,
essential.
preach.
Hey, I'm sorry. Don't give me, Frank did got me going.
Oh, I love it.
No, that's what it's all about. It's this monism. It's this cosmic thing. We're all part. There's this oneness. I mean, I feel that when I present the music, it takes me there.
As I said, you're a part of it. You
Oh
are.
yeah, it's the only thing that takes me there. I mean, film does on occasion. Film does.
True.
Because it's so powerful. It's such a powerful medium. And when film and music are inextricably tied up and it's beautifully woven together, man, there's nothing that touches that.
And they both, I would say, both film and music allow you to just really suspend reality in a certain
What's
respect.
wrong with reality, Eric?
Wait, you mean like lately?
Well,
Like everything. I know, man. Listen, you got to have the blues, if you want to play jazz, I
true.
mean, that's just part
True.
of the deal. I think, Amiri Baraka, Leroy Jones, the great author, wrote a book called Blues People, and Gil Scott-Heron, one of my friends and one of the greatest jazz singers that ever lived, in my estimation, maybe the best male jazz vocalist of all time, was just, I mean, he called himself a bluesologist. It's about understanding that pain and converting it into love and something that touches everybody's soul. We've all been there. It's hard not to get down when you see people dying all around you and you lose great artists like we just lost Freddie Cole. We lost Jimmy Cavallo. I mean, those are holes you can't plug. You can't replace those cats.
Nope.
I mean,
And there's not a lot of people coming up doing this blues-based jazz anymore. I'm one of the last that I know. There's a couple other singers and players, but I mean, it's a dying art form. There's the incarnation that jazz is currently in is. What do you think about the way jazz is going, Frank?
well, I tell you, I mean, if we're talking about creating and evolving, okay. I
Which
mean,
is important. Very important.
some people's understanding. Eric, tell me what you think about this, and Nan too. I think some people's understanding of jazz stops at a certain point. And that's fine with me, okay? Because I've straddled a lot of eras of jazz and a lot of eras of American popular music. I was born in 45, so I came in on the tail end of the big band era. And I grew up, my uncle Barney was in the Air Force, and he left behind all of his 78s of Nat King Cole and Frank Sinatra, all the Capitol 78. So I grew up on that stuff. And then, when I was a kid, bebop was around, and then it was hard bop. And then, well, you know how the music morphed. And then there was rockabilly, and there was rock and roll and the blues and doo-wop. And it was all great. I was part of the San Francisco invasion. I was at Woodstock. I was out at the Fillmore West. I saw the Beatles at Shea Stadium. I mean,
Wow.
I didn't miss too many dances, man. And wherever the music was happening, I went. And then one day I was somewhere, Toronto, I think, and I was at a festival, a blues festival. And I said, and John Lee Hooker was there at Sun House, all these great people, Harvey Mandel. I mean, it was
Woo!
yeah, it was a cool festival.
Wow.
And out on an island outside of Toronto. And I was there and I said, well, we can do this in Syracuse. It took me 10 years before I did anything, but I realized at that moment, hey, you got a stage, you got artists, you got fans. Why can't we recreate that, right? And that's how it happened. And I'm ready to do one tomorrow, like you are, man, right? We're ready to. Eric, you're ready, right?
Oh, I have a microphone right off to the side here. I'm just ready to.
I know Kathy's
get on stage.
Ready, it's the one time a year she dances. She's a great dancer, by the way. I got to tell you, we had our first kiss at Jazz Fest. We fell in love at Jazz Fest.
Oh, come on.
That's a true story. 1998, and we've been together ever since. It's just been.
She was there as a part of the media then.
Well, actually, we had a date about 3 months before. It was a great date. We went to see the New York Voices at Cornell.
Nice.
And Barton Hall, Bailey Hall, I can't remember, but I got lost on the. Oh,
are you talking about this lovely young lady, Frank?
That's the one. That's the love of my life right there.
Yep.
I don't know why I'm not seeing it.
You're not?
Well, you will, man. Have faith.
But keep telling the story about how it was Jazz Fest brought you and Kath together.
Well,
there it is.
I knew her professionally. I was running the Landmark Theater for 7 years, and I used to go over to her station, Y94, at least once a week, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week, to talk about shows that we had coming up at the theater. So I got to know her professionally before I knew her romantically, or before we ever dated. So we were friends for about 10 years before I ever asked her out.
That's a good way to start a relationship, though.
Well, it was great. We didn't know we were starting a relationship, but I asked her if she wanted to go to a jazz concert at Cornell, and it featured the New York Voices, and they were doing the Paul Simon Songbook. It was a great album that they did. And I had a long time relationship with the Voices, loved them.
Yeah.
And they were Ithaca based, came out of IC. And
great people. Yep.
So there we went. Yeah, we went and we had a great time, and it was a great date. It started about 5:00 in the evening, and we wound up eating at some all-night diner called Serpico's, I think, on North Salina Street at 5 a.m. And I thought, wow, this could be the start of something big. And then I
walking along the street, you're at a party.
Go ahead.
No, you're next, Frank.
Yeah. Well, and then she disappeared for 3 months, and she said she was busy. So I thought, wow. Oh well. You know.
And just like Frank, you've said that you
I heard
on the radio. I speak for so many people when I say it's not the same not having Kathy on the airwaves, and it's she such a fixture in this town, and I can't believe it's been 4 years without.
It sucks. It sucks.
It does.
And it sucks not having you on the jazz airwaves too, Eric. And that's why this show is so great, because everybody loves you and everybody wants to see you again, and everybody's been missing you. And I know everybody's been missing Nancy. Nobody misses me. The phone never rings.
That's not right.
That's absolutely not true.
No, but it's accurate. Anyway, listen, Kathy is great, and she should be on the air, and you should be on the air. And the fact that you're not is ridiculous. And the fact that we don't have a festival happening is ridiculous.
We have all I have had to redefine my life several times. And you know what? I jump on the new train. I do. Like, look at me now. This was my conception, this live show.
Oh, and look at me now. Sorry.
No, this is where you're going to go. It's all
Eric.
On the internet.
Eric's singing, man.
No. We want to keep audience.
It's all right, man.
By the way, Nance, I wanted to mention when you were preaching earlier, we had a great comment from Kathy Rowe, who said, "Go, Nance. Music is energy that penetrates our body and our soul. It's transformative. Ride the wave." Those are Kathy Rowe's words, and I mean, said so beautifully.
Well,
Uh,
at least we know we have one person watching. Thanks, honey.
Oh, there's quite a few. We're
oh
getting a lot
no,
of. I think people are listening. I don't. They're not. They're. We've got a lot of comments, but I think people are transfixed with what we're
Are
talking
they
about.
swearing at us, Nan?
No, they don't.
no,
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 no.
no.
Everybody is enjoying it very much.
We've talked about Jazz Fest, and we'll probably get back there. But you touched on the Landmark Theater. Your time at the Landmark. I know you treasured the time you spent there, and take us back for those people who only know Frank Malfitano as as Syracuse Jazz Fest. There's so much more to your resume than the Jazz Fest, obviously. But at the Landmark, you brought in, I mean, incredible talent month after month, heck, week after week. Can you just take us down the memory lane of the Landmark?
I was, yeah, interesting you should mention that. Interesting. My last day there was December 5th, 1996, and I haven't been in the theater since. Things did not particularly end well, but I was there for 7 years and had 7 great years. And I mean, we were going round the clock 7 days a week. And I was, this is pre-Kathy, and I was married to the theater, and I absolutely loved it. I was working in New York, and then I went down to, I was working in the jazz industry in New York City, and then I went down to
You at a point were booking or running the Blue Note in New York.
Yes.
booking. Yes.
Booking.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, that was amazing. I mean, I got to meet the best of the best. I mean, people like, Art Farmer and Phil Woods and Tom Harrell and, Winton, and just a lot of great people, man, that some of whom I had already worked with in Syracuse, but Jimmy Heath and Sir Roland Hanna. And I mean, it was a really great time to be in New York.
Yeah.
I remember being in that because I did a night there, maybe a couple nights. It just, it's something. When you stand in that dressing room, you're almost just breathing in everyone that was also in that dressing room.
Oh, listen, we could spend a whole, you could spend an hour, the whole show on the vibe, right?
Oh my God.
And I mean, I saw Yvonne Leans there.
Ah!
I worked with Dizzy Gillespie for a week. I got great stories about Dizzy that no one else in the world knows but me, because I was the only cat there. And Dizzy, Sarah Vaughan, I worked with Sarah Vaughan, Billy Eckstein. I mean, it's just George Benson, Mark Whitfield. I mean, the cats that came in and out of there were just incredible. So,
Did you mention this guy, Frank?
oh, Diz, man, I love Dizzy. Yeah. So anyway, I went from New York. I went down to DC to work for Jazz Times Magazine. Ira Sabin brought me down to run the magazine, and so I was in DC for about a year, and I got to hang out with Dizzy and James Moody and Vidal Sassoon. Dizzy's manager, Charlie Fishman, lived in Adams and Morgan, and every Friday night he'd have Shabbat. Is that it?
No.
Shabbos?
Shabbos, yes.
Shabbos. We'd have Shabbos on Friday night, and all these great musicians would come over, and we'd have to get to have dinner and whatever. So we dedicated a whole issue of Jazz Times to Dizzy, and I got to see him at Blues Alley, and we got to be, friends. And I asked him to come up and play Jazz Fest in 1989 when we were at Long Branch Park, and that really kind of took Jazz Fest to the next level.
To the next level. Yep.
Yeah.
This business is all about networking. That's what it's about, and that was your networking.
Yeah.
Well, it was
Gotta spend time in New York, man. You gotta do it, no matter who
you do. You do. Because everybody's there, man. The world is there. The jazz world is there. I mean, and that's the thing about the city. I mean, I was like a kid in a candy store.
Yeah.
I mean, one night it was Sweet Basil checking out Art Blakey, and another night it was, 7th Avenue South with the Brecker Brothers. And these people all got to be my friends. Of course, it didn't hurt that I roomed with Todd Barkin in New York either.
Oh, Todd and I have been friends for many years.
Yeah, Nancy.
Many years.
talked
Todd
about-
booked me at Dizzy's many, many times. In fact, he was responsible for putting together the show where Mark Murphy did the early show and I did the later one. We did it for a week.
Wow.
A week.
Wow.
I haven't spoken to Todd in a while. I know he's been very busy with the Keystone Corner down in Baltimore.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's got a new club and it's going well. Obviously, it's been affected by the whole COVID
Yeah.
situation, like everything else. But you know, he's bringing in the big names. He's staying true to what he did at the Keystone Corner in San Francisco for many years. I met Todd when he was a booking agent, working with Charlie Graziano. I booked Spyra Gyra. I mean, one of the groups that was instrumental in getting Jazz Fest off the
Well,
ground.
there's a story. So when my first record came out, and Amherst Records was really putting a lot of money behind it, which was my first little taste of what it was like to be have a label and do things. So they hooked me up with Charlie Graziano.
Ah, and Charlie, of course, was going with Gladys Knight at the time. So
Oh wow.
What?
that oh, you didn't know about that?
No, but I love Gladys. I just
I did
love her.
not. Yeah. Well, so
Did
anyway,
you ever have her on any of the shows?
okay, true story, and this is not a fabrication. The festival we didn't have in 2018, Gladys was going to be there.
Oh,
Wow. Oh my.
So, you know, not yet is the answer, Nan.
I
Not
was
yet.
in Atlantic City when we on our breaks. There was so many great people in the showrooms, and we would go. We talked about this many times. I mean, I would just sit there in just heaven watching Gladys work. I mean,
She's
she
great.
she was just she comes from the same era I do, though, where there's a degree of entertaining going on.
First record I ever bought. Okay, Gladys Knight and the Pips with Every Beat of My Heart.
Really? Huh.
Eric, I think that might have been before you were born.
Aw, poor little Eric.
Might have
No.
been. Might have been, but I will now with Spotify and YouTube I can enjoy it all. So
She's a
you know,
great singer and always has been. She's wonderful. Yeah, I look forward to the time when I get a chance to work with her. There's so
I
much.
wanted to. I'm sorry, I didn't
No, no,
mean.
no, that's okay, Nan.
My greatest memory, though, of all things, there were two really great memories that I had at Jazz Fest, and seeing Aretha, and of course, I was always on stage with you, and we were always there. I stood there and watched her climb the stairs. Aretha is everything to me. She won my heart at a very young age. I will never forget. Then Frank walked by me and he said, "She's your heart, isn't she, Nance?" I said, and I started crying. I started weeping. It was,
I remember you being at the side of the stage when she came on stage and
oh,
walked up the stairs. I saw it. I saw it. I know.
my knees buckled. My knees buckled. I
Yeah.
was just, wow. And then shortly after that,
it
she
was at
passed
this
away.
festival, right, Nance? 2007.
Yes. Oh, wow.
Where we had Aretha. That was the 25th anniversary. Aretha, Dave Brubeck, Bela Fleck, and the Flecktones on the shirt. But I mean, it was a festival that none of us will ever forget.
Oh, listen, Chico Hamilton was there, man.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm no disrespect to the people not on the shirt. Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Not on the shirt.
Fathead
I have a
Newman,
career if you're not on a shirt.
Fathead Newman was there. Mose Allison was there. Oscar Castro Neves was there with Toots Thielman. Okay, I mean, you want to talk about a jazz festival, man. There was more jazz in one day at that festival than some people have seen in this town in their lives. I mean, it was that great.
And I think what's so astounding about it is that a lot of the audiences didn't really, maybe they didn't really know some of those people were, but the magic that they brought them, it for their eyes and their hearts and their minds to be opened by these greats, these virtuoso. It's unbelievable what you brought.
Frank, let's not also forget you had the Jocko Big Band with Hiram and Will Lee, and Ed Palermo's big band that year with Napoleon Murphy Brock, who I had never seen before. And that big band, I had played their CD, but then to see them, I'm telling you, to see that big band playing Zappa's music live was electric.
I saw them. George Wein presented them at Bryant Park in New York City as part of the Newport, New York Festival. And I saw the Ed Palermo Big Band there. they blew me away. I mean, it was years before, it's funny. I was at a conference in New York, Nan. You'll love, the big jazz conferences, and
Yep. Hmm.
Jazz Times Magazine used to sponsor them. Then it was Arts Presenters, APAP, and now it's Jazz Congress. I used to go to those all the time to scout talent, meet people, network, whatever. And I went over to Iridium in Times Square one night, and the Ed Palermo big band was playing, and they were lamenting the fact on stage that they had never played any festivals.
Oh,
And I said, I just happen to have two in Detroit and Syracuse. Come. And so they played both festivals that year, and that was incredible. What a great band. What a great band leader. I mean,
Oh,
he's amazing. They're amazing. And yeah, and Peter Graves and the Jocko Big Band. Later that year, Bob Bobbing invited me down. They did a tribute. It was the 20th anniversary of Jaco Pastorius's death. And they did a tribute in his hometown in Fort Lauderdale. And they asked me to MC it. And I went, and the Jocko Big Band was there. And guys that had played with Jaco in Weather Report were there. Bobby Thomas. Randy Brecker was there, Bob Mincer, Jimmy Haslip, Dave Bergeron. I mean, Ed Kaye, who's one of the greatest sax players I ever heard, man.
yeah.
Monster player, right? I mean, who's the cat that played with Red Rodney for so long? Ira Sullivan was there.
Ira Sullivan.
oh, I personally knew him. Yes.
Isn't he a gas, man? He's great. He's a great saxophonist, and I mean, just one of the great cats. But what a thrill of a lifetime that was for me that they put, I got to MC that show, man. I mean, that was Jaco's family was there. His whole family was there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Don't you find though, Frank? I always I talk to my students a lot about this, and don't you find that all these virtuosos, the people that are really at this level of music, are not burdened with ego?
Oh, no, they have none. And I frequently get asked that question. I'm sure you do too, guys, because you're in the business and you know a lot of artists and you are artists and you've worked with artists. Who's the worst person you ever worked with?
Oh, I would never ask you that, but you can tell us if you want.
No. I never had a problem because of what you said. Spiritually, I don't think you get to be at that level and have longevity in your career if you're not at that place.
Well, I can tell you what happened to me, even though I didn't have some of the lucky breaks that some other people did. But what happens is you quickly realize how little you know, so you become humble, and you quickly realize you're in the presence of greatness just by being able to do the music. So it just humbles you on so many levels, and you're just cool. You're just hanging, man. Let's play. Where's the bandstand? Let's do it.
Oh yeah, nobody was a diva and nobody was a prima donna and whatever. And part of that, I think, is because we had a great crew. We had a great crew of volunteers headed up by a lovely lady named Susan Putnam. And we had,
Oh, I remember that name.
remember Susan?
Absolutely.
Yes.
She and her husband Brian and their volunteers, they were fantastic to the artists. And also Mary Jo Spillane
Oh,
was an incredible tech goddess who really knew how to run a festival. I mean, obviously she's out on tour with people like Lady Gaga now. And
Oh,
yeah, and she was Dolly Parton's tour manager. I mean,
I love Dolly.
right, Mary Jo's great, man. I've got Mary Jo in our backyard, I mean, when she's not traveling around the world. So she made a huge difference. And Mark Gummer and National Audio. I mean, we got National Audio based right here in Central New York. And that made a huge difference because the artist needs were taken care of. Every once in a while we'd have a glitch and it would kill me and I wanted to shoot myself. But, because you want everything to be perfect. You really do. Because you want artists to feel great about what just happened and you want them to come back. And my position with regard to artists has always been they owe us nothing. Their being here is a gift. And the only thing we want is the best that they're capable of on that night. Whatever God gives them is fine with me. So, not everybody hits a home run every night.
Well, we can't. It's
It's
impossible.
an
You know,
impossible thing.
fatigue, or if you when you're a vocalist, it's really hard because fatigue is your enemy. When you're a vocalist. So
Yeah, that's why Freddie Cole was such a warrior. I mean, the guy's
Oh,
88 and he's still out gigging, right?
and
God love
he
you,
got a.
Freddie. Freddie, we'll see you on the other side, man.
In
yeah,
fact, I'm going to share a picture in a moment. Freddie, I believe, got nominated for a Grammy just for his most recent recording. I think at the age of 87. So I just love those
was
cats who
my
just
friend John
keep on
DiMartino
going,
on
keep
that record?
recording.
You're freezing up a little.
I don't know offhand.
Oh, he did the
I
last
don't know
10
offhand.
the last 10 recordings with Freddie and did all his arrangements. So yeah.
He may have been.
Yeah.
But
In fact,
Hey,
Freddie got to the point where he didn't always play piano, and John would play the piano, and Freddie would just sit on a stool and sing. It was so lovely.
you know, Todd, we mentioned Todd Barkin a while ago. Todd used to be the in-house producer at Fantasy, Milestone, and Prestige
Yes.
in Berkeley. And he produced hundreds of albums. And of course, he produced a ton of albums in Japan, and he produced a bunch of albums live from the Keystone, and he's still producing. He's one of the great producers of all
He's
time.
very prolific
He's
indeed.
really great. He is. And in addition to being, turning out some great things, he really transformed Freddie. I think from being a lounge act to being one of the greatest jazz singers in the world. So, I mean, Freddie was always that, but Todd brought it out.
yeah,
I immediately hooked up with Todd the minute I moved to New York. He immediately took me under his wing. I mean, it was a wonderful experience. Unfortunately, I could not stay in New York, but Todd is
You
just.
go see him in Baltimore at the
I
Keystone.
would love to
yeah.
if we ever get open again.
It will.
I never got to the Keystone Corner in San Francisco, so I would love to check out check it out in Baltimore.
Baltimore got a lot of people that'll be digging that jazz, man. I think it was a good choice for him to go there.
You're going to be.
I always had good experiences in Baltimore. I know that hasn't been the case for a lot of people in Baltimore. They've had a lot of challenges, not to mention Freddie Gray, but I will. But hopefully Baltimore's getting it together. I mean, Baltimore's got a lot to offer with the Inner Harbor and Fells Point.
Is he near the Inner Harbor? The club that he's got, is he near the Inner Harbor?
It's actually downtown.
Oh, okay.
Actually,
Because I had played some club there on the Inner Harbor, and it was gorgeous,
yeah, it's a
beautiful.
beautiful place. Great city. Great city. I discovered it when I was working in Washington, or a guy named Roland Sweet was working in Washington also. He was running a magazine. He used to work for the Syracuse New Times, and we reconnected in DC and hung out a lot together. And he took me over to Baltimore one day, and that was my intro. Great, great city.
There's just so many amazing clubs in this country. I'm ashamed to admit that I have not been to so many. Like you're going to be mad at me, Frank, that I have never been to the Iridium. I've never been to Jazz Standard. I've never been to Blues Alley. I've never been to Jazz Alley. So I mean, it's still a lot of clubs on my bucket list. Fortunately, I've been to the Blue Note. I got to see Nancy at the Blue Note.
Thank you. What we are all very concerned about is
Standard too.
whether they will be there when we come through.
Man,
Well, yeah, that is a concern. Eric, have you been to Birdland?
luckily
He's not
that I can check off. Yes, I
Yeah,
have.
Gianni is a guy. Gianni Valenti runs the club now, and he's a guy that loves singers. I mean,
I'm so grateful to Gianni.
he's a great cat, man, and he's beautiful. I had the pleasure of introducing. It was a CD release party for Diane Shore when she did the tribute to Frank Sinatra.
Deedles.
Beatles, man, yeah, and
I saw her at your festival, didn't I?
Deeds has been at the festival
Yes.
2 or 3 times. Yeah, she's great, and I also worked with her in Detroit. I love her, man. She's one of the greatest ever. And she played the jazz series that I produced with Debbie Sido up at OCC, the Legends of Jazz
Oh,
series.
yes. Oh, yeah. I came to almost every one of those.
What'd you think? They were great, weren't they?
Oh, they were great. It was intimate and wonderful. You got to sit right there.
Wait, did somebody mention this?
Oh,
Uh-oh.
yeah.
There we go.
It's a poster. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
That was a good year. Yeah, we had, oh man, Mulgrew. Oh, you made
Mulgrew,
me,
Oh,
made
I
me
was
cry,
there.
man.
I'm
Ron
telling
Carter,
you,
Mulgrew, and Russell Malone, Alan
that,
Toussaint, Bela Fleck and the original Flecktones, and Randy Brecker. And
oh,
yeah, that was kind of like the Brecker brothers. Otto Ravati was playing the
oh.
Michael Brecker parts. That was great. Mitch Stein was on guitar. Uh, Rodney Holmes on drums. Ridiculous. Right.
This Legends of Jazz. I know again, OCC is near and dear to your heart, being an alumnus.
It is.
This Legends of Jazz series, which was, I believe, a 5-year series, was obviously a labor of love for you. And I mean, to be able to see not just this season, but other seasons with the artists such as Dr. Lonnie Smith, Joey DeFrancesco, when he switched places with his drummer, Joey did some drumming, and was it Byron Landon, I think, might have played
It was.
organ.
Did you know Joey's playing saxophone now too, besides
No.
the organ and the trumpet?
Is he?
Yep.
Yeah, tell him what you know. He also sings like a bird.
Oh, it's great.
Yes.
Well,
Man.
how could you not when you got that under your hands? I mean,
Well,
you know.
he can chirp. He can chirp.
You remember, Frank? You remember the Joey album where he had Joe Dog singing, aka Joe Pesci?
Yeah.
I love turning people onto that and going, okay, you'll just never guess who this singer is. You'll just never guess.
No.
In a million years.
Joe's got a lot of soul, and he's a great singer.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he's got massive stage fright, so he does not perform.
Oh,
Which is
guess who
tragic.
else has massive stage fright?
Yeah, you.
Horrible.
You know, I can't see that because
And
Yeah.
thank you for that. And you know, I pray a lot before I go on, and I try to get through it. And but there's many reasons. You know, I don't want to bring them up, but I do have stage fright.
well, Joe's got it so severely that he can't perform.
Well, look at all the great performers that do. Look,
Well, yeah, but a lot of them don't sound like little Jimmy Scott, and that's
yeah, man, I know it.
We're
Who
getting-
sounds like Nancy Wilson, or does Nancy Wilson sound like little Jimmy Scott?
Well, that was a treat having him at the festival doing 3 different gigs on the weekend. That was very special. Jimmy's another one of those cats that Todd introduced me to.
Me too.
Todd introduced me to so many people, and I had the chance to work with all of them. I mean, you know, Blue Lou Marini and Lou Soloff came up one year because of Todd, you know? I mean, Lou Soloff, man.
We're having an insider's talk here, though, man.
Okay, let's talk to the people. I'm sorry. Is that
Yeah, no.
We're having let's talk about when another one of my great heroes was at the Jazz Fest, Michael McDonald.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Now, you know, you and I were very frank,
Yeah.
about the fact
got the
that a
same
lot of us have a very wide musical spectrum in our lives.
Thank God.
I'm not just a bebop swing person. I'm a funk person. Michael McDonald, I'm there's all kinds of stuff that I'd be grooving on.
Well, you know what? And that's great because you're a working musician. And that's what working musicians do. Nobody, oh, yeah, there we are.
look at that.
Ah, you got a picture?
See, Eric, you worry. It's a picture of me and you and Michael McDonald out in front of his trailer.
Can you
And
see
he-
it, Nance?
It just doesn't come up on here on my page, so I have to wait for it to come up live on Facebook.
And you worry about your weight, Eric. I've had to look at my weight for the last 40 years on camera.
That's the size. It's just the shape. Look at the shape. Look at my butt sticking out there.
Oh, stop.
What are you gonna do? This moment for me
Yep.
was, and Michael and I had talked. I think we had talked we're friends on Facebook. I think we had previously known each other a little bit, like chit chatty, and this was just a moment. I became a total puddle of fanness.
Well,
Yes.
and isn't that great? You know, because you love the music, and that's what comes through. You know, we love this music. We live to serve this music. It's all about this music and the people who create this music. Michael Michael's a monster. I mean, you
Man,
forget
and I couldn't believe how together his voice was. And
Oh
he's
my
my
God.
age, and he's screaming some shit out, man. I'm like, oops.
he's a soulful cat, and obviously one of the most soulful cats ever. And just his work with the Doobie Brothers, the stuff he did with backing Christopher Cross, man, Ride Like the Wind.
I
Yeah.
love Christopher Cross.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Chris is
Oh,
great. Chris had a bad case of COVID, but he couldn't walk.
really?
Yeah, he couldn't walk.
We've
And
Oh,
lost a lot of jazz people to
oh
COVID.
gosh.
well,
Well,
that's what I'm worried about. Are the festivals going to be there post COVID? Are the clubs going to be there post COVID? Are
Well, we're
the
going to
gigs going to
redefine
be
things. People like you are going to be sitting home and you're going to be thinking because you are a creator. You're a creator and you're a doer, and you're going to pull this all back together, Frank. I have every belief in my heart. That's
Well,
going.
I'm not the problem. The problem is we need those people who control the money
right.
to part with the money instead of acting like I'm going into their pocket like a pickpocket.
Well, we have to vote some other people in
I
that are
think that's a
interested in the
very
art.
good idea. But let me just say this, that has to happen in our backyards as well.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Take
right.
that for what it's worth, man. But, take a look at Syracuse and Onondaga County, because that's where we are,
Yep.
and that's where it matters. All right? That's all I'm going to say about that.
That's okay. We hear you loud and clear.
Question that's come in the chat, and it's a question that I've had. For all the pinch me moments that we've had over 35 years at Jazz Fest, can you think of somebody that was always on your wish list, Frank, to bring, and for one reason or another you were never able to bring that person to Syracuse? I mean, you brought the best of the best, but was there somebody that unfortunately you never got to bring, at least not yet?
Well, yeah, and there were many. Most recently, the lady that I would have loved to have brought in more than anything was Amy Winehouse.
Oh my.
Oh.
Yeah,
She would have brought a crowd. And one of the things I always loved about what you do with the Jazz Fest, or and what you're going to continue to do, because we're not going to be in the past tense with this.
Okay.
Okay. You were wise enough
No.
to understand that just straight ahead jazz and bebop is not going to pack that place, that wherever it was, at Onondaga or the different places. You were one of the many wise Jazz Fest producers who brought in a wide range of music. And we solved so many problems with this. First of all, we had huge crowds, and second of all, we were sharing real jazz with people who had not been exposed to it, which is, I mean, Amy would have brought a ton.
Well, and that's, I mean, that's the deal.
That's the dealio.
Tony Bennett was under contract
Right.
and couldn't make the date, and he
Oh.
asked us to get out of the date because he had another commitment. And I said, yeah, just give us a make good, and that never happened. So that was a little bit of a disappointment. Although I did get to work with Tony elsewhere in New York on a couple of occasions. So, I mean, I had my personal thing satisfied with that, but I would have loved to have brought him to Jazz Fest. Thelonious Monk was always somebody
Oh,
that I just thought was the greatest, and I never got to see Monk. Certainly by the time I got into presenting, like I said, it was the early 80s, Nan, or right around 1980. And, so I missed out on an opportunity to bring Ella in and Pops. Louis Armstrong and Ella would have been at the top of my list. People like Betty Carter and Carmen McRae, people I never had the chance to work with. I would have been thrilled to bring them in. They're just phenomenal.
And I know I can speak when we talk about favorite Jazz Fest memories. We could be here all night talking about that. But for Nancy, I don't mean to speak for you, Nance, but we've discussed it on previous shows. I know one of your favorite memories of this incredible festival was Etta Jones, Houston person.
well, that was not only a cathartic experience for me, because I keep forgetting to remind people that Etta Jones is probably one of the great jazz singers that ever lived, in my opinion. Etta
Of all
Jones
time.
is
Of
badass.
all time. And
Badass.
we dedicated the festival to her in 2002.
I know you did.
There's a wonderful photograph of Al Jarreau. There's a beautiful poster of Etta hanging over the stage, and Al Jarreau is pointing up in the air singing. And I mean, that was just a moment, you know.
The moment. So Houston and Etta were on the date with me at we were in downtown. And I started singing, and the cutest thing you ever saw in your life was Houston sticking his head around the side of those great big speakers looking at who was singing. Who is this? And then, of course, as you know, he and I started a long, wonderful, loving musical relationship after that. He's been on several of my records, and we're still very dear friends.
He's that whole soul jazz thing that
Yeah.
he did and Lou Donaldson did, Hank Mobley. I mean, that just isn't around much anymore.
No, it's not.
I'll tell you who's doing a great thing, and he came into Jazz Fest a few years ago. Paulie Serra has a Crusaders-like band called Groove Legacy out in Los Angeles.
Yes.
Love the name.
Man,
That's
you close your eyes. It's all original material. You close your eyes, you'd swear it was the Crusaders.
Crusaders. Yep. I knew. Yep.
Just great, man. That whole thing that Stuff brought to the table at McKell's. Remember McKell's, Nan?
I was there.
Oh, what a great
I used to go down. Where did I used to go see them in Woodstock all the time? I don't know, some club down there that they played.
Oh, the Bearsville Inn?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a history lesson for
Paul
me.
Butterfield at the bar listening to those guys play.
Butter, man. Butter was great. Butter was great.
We're name dropping and stuff, but it's so
No, we're
fun.
not. We're talking about this American heritage music that
Yes.
this country created
Yes.
that is the greatest. And, there was a time when regional radio, I mean, you could go to, you talk about Kathy on radio and Eric on radio. There was a time you could drive through this country and you could be down in Alabama and Mobile or something, and you'd be hearing regional flavor. Or you go to New Orleans and be listening to WOZ, which is still doing it. In Detroit, man, that Kansas City, there were these pockets, Chicago, LA, New York.
And there were regional sounds. There were
There
regional
were
sounds.
sounds, man. These places had sounds.
They
Um,
did. But now we've just got an across the board thing going on. Everybody's, although they still talk about. I go to LA quite a bit and work, and we're different. The East Coast jazz people, we're different. We bring a little grit to it.
Our kids, thank God, all love music, and they all came to Jazz Fest. And not because they had to, but because they wanted to. And they grew up at Jazz Fest. And so many kids grew up at Jazz Fest in our educational program, which was a damn fine one, if I might say so for myself. But listen, the credit for that goes to guys like Joe Corello and Joe Raposo and John Cajola.
Yes.
All the jazz educators in this town. And every musician that played the festival is a jazz educator as well.
Well, we all are. Everyone teaches. I mean, not
teach
always
because
because
you
we
have
have
to.
to. Not always because we have to, but because we enjoy sharing this with the younger generation and trying to hip them to it. I just lost a student because, and he said to me, "This isn't the direction I want to go," and my heart broke in pieces. We try. My point is we really try to bring this to people.
Kathy has a great saying. When the student is ready, the teacher arrives.
Yeah, well, he wasn't ready.
No,
I was there.
He's not ready. Dig. But there'll come a time when he is ready. And hopefully you'll still be there to do it,
I hope
because
so.
that's part of an obligation to pass this thing down. And that's part of the African-American heritage of this music as well. That's an oral tradition that's passed on from generation to generation. So this music, if the griots don't teach the youngins about this music, it ends.
Yeah.
It ends, and I've got a lot of people interested in. I'm very proud of what I do, and as you know, I was Jazz Educator of the Year last year. So,
Hey, everybody, if you're watching this, get a hold of Nancy Kelly and tell her.
No, I need some students right now. But the video thing is
Yeah.
a little, it's kind of funny for some people.
I'll
But
tell you
It's
what,
working
though.
out for us tonight. I tell you, I'm really enjoying this. I brought a bunch of props because I wasn't sure about what we were going to talk about. I figured if it got into sports, I had this ready, you
the
know.
orange.
Hey, Frank,
Yeah.
you know what I have as a prop, just
Oh,
because I guess it's coming back. Look,
Oh, baseball.
I mean, you and I are both baseball fans.
And boxing fans and basketball fans. I'm a women's basketball fan. I love Tiana Manga Kahia, and
Yes.
I love the SU Orange ladies. And
Yep.
Kathy and I go to all the games, and it's great because nobody's there, and we've got the dome to ourselves. I don't feel good about that for the players,
Yeah.
but I like it from a fan standpoint. They were COVID before COVID.
In fact, yeah, Nance, you don't know this. I actually bumped into Frank and Kathy at the Turning Stone Casino. There was boxing out there,
yeah, I wasn't there.
and I went with a, I,
Enough
went
people,
with
I see enough people beating the crap out of each other. I don't need to go watch it in person.
I saw Frank and Kathy front row. I'm like, oh, I didn't know Frank was a boxing fan, and I was there. And
I used to write for some boxing magazines back in the day.
was
Oh,
that
that's
so?
interesting.
Well, Nance, you talked about different incarnations. I've had so many, man, I can't begin to tell you.
And you're not done. You're not done.
Well, no, but interestingly enough,
We're just regrouping, dear.
it's all because I've followed the music.
Yeah.
The music took me every place I went, including into Kathy's arms. So that was the best thing that ever happened.
Well, you're lucky.
And one thing I didn't really realize until I was doing a little Frank research is that you were a musician yourself, and you really kept playing right up until I guess you were at Fredonia. But when you saw Train at a club called the 800, that's when you played your last note and said, "No."
Did I tell that story publicly?
I think I believe yes, it is publicly noted that the first time you saw Train is when I think you decided to stop your musical aspirations.
Well, there was I'll tell the story very briefly, although I think it's telling. I'll see if I can do it justice. So the Club 800 was in the old 15th Ward, which they demolished to build Route 81. Okay. By the way, that happened all over the country. That was not an accident. It was, you know, the drummer, the great drummer out of Detroit, Leonard King, plays with James Carter and Gerard Gibbs.
Not personally, but I know the name, yes.
Oh, he's a great player, and a great teacher, great educator, and great guy.
Got to meet him at the Legends of Jazz series, in fact. Yeah.
He did play the Legends of Jazz series with James, and that's right. And anyway, he told me about the Detroit plan in 1946, so I went and looked it up. That was a deliberate and an intentional attempt to deconstruct vibrant African-American neighborhoods before they could gain political
We know all about this.
power.
Very painful. I
Okay, so we know this, but within the 15th Ward, there were a lot of jazz clubs. There was the English Inn, there was Sid's Hightower Lounge, Phoebe's Harquet Lounge, the Jazz Corner, the Clover Club, and the Club 800. Okay, and so the Club 800 was my study hall when I was at OCC. OCC was in a typewriter factory downtown, the old Smith plant. Yeah. Midtown Plaza, they called it. And right next door was this one-story little square building on the corner of Foreman and East Washington Street. And it was called the Club 800. Two Jewish sisters ran it, Sarah and Rachel. So I'd go there every day and have Hebrew National salami on pumpernickel and an OV. And so that was my study hall because that's where I hung out between classes because I didn't want to go home, right? And so the bartender there was a tall brother with a stingy brim hat. His name was Gene. And he says, "Hey, man, you like jazz?" It always starts out this way. The conversation always leads to this. He says, "You like jazz?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, you should come down here Friday night, man. There's a band coming in from Philly. Sax player."
That's my town.
He said, "I think you're going to like." And I said, "Okay." I said, "Is it cool?" He said, "Oh, yeah, it's cool." And he pointed, he had a little 22 on his hip in a holster. And he said, yeah, it's cool. So I said, okay, I'm going down. So I went down, and it was, I had a reserved table. He was so happy to see me. I had a reserved table in front of the stage for me. I went in, and it was John Coltrane, McCoy Tyner, Jimmy Garrison, and Elvin Jones.
Oh my
Forget it.
So the first set, dig this, the first set was My Favorite Things.
Oh.
That's it, the whole set.
The whole set, right.
The second set.
I can just.
Oh, you need. The second set was Naima.
Oh.
And the third set was Afro Blue and After the Rain.
Wow.
I left.
Oh,
I thanked them profusely, one of those deals. I left. I went home. I was playing sax at the time, just, not with anybody, just
Right.
for myself.
Yeah.
I went into the closet. I grabbed the sax, wrapped it in plastic, went out in the back yard, dug a hole, and buried it.
No, man.
It's a true story, man. And I never played another note. But that was the point at which I pivoted. That's the word now, right? Pivot.
Pivot, right. Yeah.
I pivoted, man. I didn't know where I was going to go, but I knew I wasn't going to be a player, because I saw a player and I realized I could never do that. And I said, that's it. That's it.
Talk about a cathartic experience, seeing that group in that playing those songs in that venue. Oh my Lord.
Yeah, and it's one of those deals where everybody in town now says they were there, but it was a one-nighter, and there were probably maybe 50 people in the joint. No one that looked like me was me. So I was very blessed that I just happened to fall into that. But that's one of those cosmic coincidences, man. You don't plan that.
No.
It just happens.
Just happens.
That's well put.
God bless you, Gene.
Oh man, Gene, yeah. I was having a secret meeting with a bunch of people not long ago, and I met his niece, and I've known his niece for years, but I didn't know they were connected. It was just the nicest thing, man.
Oh man.
I know.
Oh my goodness.
Well, we've done an hour and a half, and we could probably go another hour.
We could. We really could,
Why don't we just come back another time, maybe?
I think that you would be a wonderful choice.
I feel like this is a part one, and this needs to be continued, on a future show.
Yeah, because we clearly could talk for quite a while.
And by then there'd be 3 people watching.
Oh.
We've got almost 30 watching right now.
30?
Yeah.
Just a couple
They watch the reruns. Don't you worry, my dear.
We want to make sure, let the audience, get them involved, let them know what they're saying. Lisa Wetton said, "I wish there were more good jazz clubs." We were talking about clubs in the UK. We've got Ronnie Scott's, but that's about it.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Ronnie Lee chimed in when we were talking about the Legends of Jazz series. He said, "What about the series at the Civic Center?"
Oh, well, Ronnie was a part of that. That's an interesting. We did a 10th anniversary. I was the promotions and marketing director for the Arts Council,
okay,
which back then was called the CRC.
Yes,
and they hired me to be their promotions and marketing director for their 10th anniversary. And as part of an outgrowth of that, I wound up becoming the jazz series director for 2 years. We did a Jazz at the Center series, and we brought in Dizzy Gillespie, Jimmy Heath, Jean-Luc Ponty, Chick Corea, Miles Davis, Tanya Maria, Maria, man, Bobby McFerrin. This was the mid 80s. I mean, Alan Holdsworth. I mean, this was an amazing series. I mean, it was incredible. But again, the funding runs out, and then
you're done with it. My student Donna Pacini wanted to know, since you were an OCC guy, if you knew Phil Klein.
Oh, love Phil Klein. Love Phil Klein. Knew him well. He gave me all of his CDs. We would talk all the time. Absolutely loved him.
He can play anything. In any key.
Well, he's amazing. He's like Freddie. Freddie had more than 2,000 songs floating around in his head, Freddie Cole. I mean, it was astonishing, the book they knew. It was incredible.
They spend all their time doing music. That's the difference between me. I have a lot of interests in life, and I don't spend all my time doing music. I mow the lawn sometimes, Eric.
Yeah, gardening is very big when you get to be our
Yes,
age.
and Nancy's also a fantastic cook, and
I love to cook.
I am gonna try her.
Oh, can I tell you a story?
Oh,
Can I tell you a
yes.
story?
Oh, please
No,
do.
no, Eric, you'll like this one,
The
man.
floor is yours, please.
No. It was the Crusaders. Okay. So it was Wayne Henderson on trombone,
Wilton Felder.
Wilton Felder on saxophone,
Yeah.
right? One of the great Texas tenors. You mentioned
Yeah.
Heaps in person. Another one of the great Texas tenors. Anyway, great. Bobby Lyle was on keyboards for this one. Joe wasn't in the band at this point, but it was amazing. Okay, amazing. So they show up, and I run into them, and oh, this was at Detroit. This was in Detroit.
Okay.
Okay, so I got called to the backstage. There was a problem. They hadn't gotten paid, and they weren't going to take the stage, and they didn't know I was in Detroit running the festival there. So I come backstage, and they saw me as, oh man, everything's cool, you know. So meanwhile, Wayne's got on a leopard skin barbecue apron and a chef's hat to match, and I mean, you know, and he had it all tricked out, and I mean, he looked great, right? But I didn't want to call attention to his wardrobe, so I'm talking. I said, "Yeah, man, I just got here to Detroit, and this is my first year with the festival, and I'm so happy that you guys came." And so I dodged the question for a while, and then finally I looked at him and I said, "Man, not for anything," I said, "but what's with the leopard skin barbecue apron and chef's hat?" And he said, "Well, Frankie, I came to cook."
That's why we even leave the house.
I came to cook, he says.
Oh
And
man,
cook they did.
I bet.
I love it.
Oh man.
Well, what do you say, Eric? Call it a day.
I say this, that you know what?
What a day this has been. What a
What a day this has been. What a rare mood I'm in.
Well, it's almost like
Oh,
being.
don't tease us like that. I mean,
I know it.
oh man.
But listen to Frank. He's keeping up good.
I'll just say this. I think that in our own, I was going to say it in your own,
In our own sweet way.
but in our own separate ways, I think Art Blakey would be proud of the three of us because we've all, in different ways, been jazz messengers. Nancy as a musician, myself as a announcer and a broadcaster, Frank as a festival producer and presenter of this great American art form. So I think it's safe to say that to get the three of us together, and we're all proud to be messengers of this music. And this is a music that has gone through, you use the word morphed, and yes, it's morphed, and there's category after category after category of jazz, and everybody has their own special taste, but we all truly love the history and the of this art form, and we know it's going to continue, and we know that festivals and live music are going to come back, and Jazz Fest has not written its final chapter, and we cannot wait until we get through this very surreal, crazy year of 2020, and we all get to be with each other, and we all get to enjoy a cathartic experience of Jazz Fest once again. So that's
Well said, Eric. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Frank. I can't tell you what a thrill this was today, and the conversation was delightful.
Oh my
It
gosh!
was a thrill for me to see you both again and to be here. I'm very honored to be a guest this evening on your program. And Nan, I just want to tell you while I got a chance, in case anybody out there hasn't heard it, your new Mark Murphy tribute CD is absolutely brilliant. One of the best things you've ever done. Of course, Mark is one of the greatest jazz vocalists that ever lived. And see, Eric, I don't have to say he's one of the guys I wish I had presented, because we did present him.
Oh, you did, and I was there, and I just want to say you were affiliated with Jazz Times. I cannot tell you, Jazz Times did me such a solid with this record, man. A major salad. They named me top 20 jazz CDs of 2019.
Yeah, we've got a lot to talk about. So maybe,
We do.
hopefully, one of these days
Yeah.
we'll have an opportunity to get together, and if God keeps us all here breathing. And in the meantime,
No.
thank you so much for
Well-
letting me come on your show. I appreciate it.
Well, I'm going to leave with I'm going to embarrass Nancy to close out.
Oh.
And I want to ask Frank if he happens to remember this Nancy Kelly right here.
Yeah.
What is it? I guess I don't see it.
So
for
just
some
wait,
reason.
Nance. You're going to see it in about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Do you see it now, Nance?
Not yet.
Well, Nance, it's a picture of you when you were a rock and roller.
Oh, no, you didn't put that up, Eric Cohen. Oh,
Yes, Nance. I had to. I
Well,
mean,
I am proud to be a rock and roller. And
Frank,
somebody
I've always
somebody
said-
said to me the other day, "You're a rock star." I said, "Yes, I am."
man alive, I'll tell you.
Oh, that's gorgeous. Where did you ever find that?
I have my ways, but I know Frank would have booked Nancy Kelly, the rocker. Absolutely.
Well, it really influenced. Now you're getting you were talking more. It really is what fired my approach to jazz. Because I really came out with both barrels. I was that was my reputation of being just on fire. One newspaper called me Hurricane Nancy. So, of course, now I'm much more laid back. But that's what fired it, the rock and roll days. And not me and
I'm
Randy
afraid,
Brecker and a lot of people, the same thing, man. We came from those. I came from the blues and rock and roll, and it's like in my bones.
And there's a whole, Eric, you were mentioning this before. Every school and style and discipline of jazz is legitimate.
Yes.
I had kind of referenced that early on in our conversation. Some people's understanding of the music stopped at a certain point. They didn't evolve and continue on with the music.
Yeah.
Yep.
Some people clung to the big band era because it was popular music, it was the war years, and it was dance music. And when you couldn't dance to it anymore, the music lost some people along the way, but it gained a different audience, And when jazz fused with rock and created fusion in the 70s, Weather Report, Return to Forever, and those amazing Mahavishnu Orchestra, those were incredible jazz.
Yes. I had a huge following back in the little big band days because it was something that people could log on to. Yeah. And as I evolved as a jazz artist, I started losing them.
Right.
I started losing them, which to me has, there's two sides to that coin. I've evolved and I'm someone else now, and I'm not, something that everybody wants to come and see because I'm a different singer now.
Yes, they do, Nan. Look, the thing is, it's the way you're presented. Like you said, it's always a gas to play Jazz Fest because you could count on playing in front of 10, 20, 30,000 people. Joey DeFrancesco once said to me, man, I'll play for you anywhere, anytime. Yep. And he said, I'll open for anybody, man, because I know there's going to be an audience there.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. It's getting this music heard and seen. And then it can become popular music once again. It needs to be presented in the proper way.
I don't have people walking away, well, I didn't dig that. I don't like that, so what's
exactly.
It'd be nice to, let's hope we can put something together. Let's just hope for the future. Let's leave our show on that. We're going to hope for the future of Frank and the festival and the future of jazz in this part of the state.
In the words of my man, Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, Bernie.
A future to believe in.
Amen. Oh, man. Thank you so much for what you have done for our backyard here in Central New York, what you've done for...
Eric, I didn't do anything. Stop. I got to stop you. All the thanks goes to the musicians who create this music. I'm just...
Yeah, but man, we somebody's got to call us up and tell us to get out the house, because we'll just stay in the house if you don't call us up.
You're still the engine behind it all, though. Okay.
Yeah, just remember.
Yes. Amen to that.
Amen. All right.
Bye, Frank.
Exiting stage left, Frank Malfitano. Nance, this was this lived up to expectations, I'd say, huh?
Yes, it was wonderful. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Frank. Everybody have a lovely evening.
Have a lovely
Enjoy
week.
your holiday with your families, and we
Yes,
love you. We'll see you soon.
safe and happy 4th of July. Thank you again, Frank, and we're going to do part 2 again down the road.
All right. Night, night, everybody.
All right. Everyone be safe. Take care. God bless.